everyone. I'm Barbara Ham-Lee. This weekend begins the unofficial start to the summer season, and with that comes lots of outdoor activities like walking, cycling, swimming, hiking. You get the picture. And what also happens are bee stings, sunburn, and yes, African Americans get sunburned, scrapes and bruises, and you could use traditional medicine to overcome the summertime boo-boos, or you could do it naturally. Up next on Another View on Health, natural health remedies for what ails you. Stay tuned. Another View with co-host cardiologist Dr. Keith Newby is coming up next.
Discussing today's topics from an African American perspective, this is Another View.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Another View. I'm Barbara Ham-Lee. This is Memorial Day weekend, a time for us to honor our military men and women who give of themselves and way too often sacrifice their very lives to protect our freedom. So to all of our military past and present, we salute you. Thank you so very much for your service. And this weekend is also the unofficial start to summer. And with that, we have two topics to cover on today's Another View on Health: using natural medicine to help us stay healthy this summer, or natural ways to help us stay healthy this summer, and also how you can use your family summer family reunion to be a great source of information about your family's health. So joining me is my co-host, cardiologist, Dr. Keith Newby. Hey.
How are you?
I'm good. Good
Wonderful.
to see you this morning.
Always a pleasure.
Absolutely.
Always a pleasure.
And we welcome to Another View naturopathic Dr. GiGi Fykes. Hello, GiGi. How are you?
Hello. Doing wonderful.
Good. Thank you so much for joining us today. And her husband, owner of Health Trail Natural Foods and a natural health advocate, Jeff Fykes. How are you?
Good. I'm wonderful.
Good. Thanks so much for being with me. So, Dr. Fykes, explain to us first, what is a naturopathic doctor?
Well, a naturopathic doctor, I guess, would be the opposite of Dr. Newby. I am a healing teacher. And as a naturopath, I view you, I basically help you to keep your health on track. And as a naturopath, it's a wonderful way to help people to take control of their own health naturally by using non-invasive, non-toxic natural therapies. So my job is to facilitate the process of helping the body to heal.
But Dr. Newby and Dr. Fykes, there are synergies, and there are more and more traditional doctors working with homeopathic doctors and so forth for the whole body. Is that right?
Yeah, I think a lot of what we find, and for every doctor is going to be a little variable in their ways of thinking, but I think the majority of us now see a lot of advantages to taking a homeopathic approach to life. If you look at most data, most chronic illnesses, diabetes, hypertension, a lot of it could be diet controlled and lifestyle controlled. The biggest problem, and I give her all the credit in the world, because the frustrations of trying to get people to change can be a little different. Now, hopefully they're reaching out to her because they want to institute a change. We get a lot of patients that come because they're having the active problem and they want to rectify it. I think they
want to fix the problem, but they don't want to change the lifestyle.
Yeah, exactly. So we get a lot of that. But, the bottom line is, if people tell me, like example, if I have somebody with, say, sleep apnea, and, they cannot tolerate, a CPAP device, and I tell them all the time, well, you're going to have to change the dynamic of the situation. If you don't want to, if you say, well, I don't want to deal with this, I don't want to deal with that, and I say, fine, then you need to do this to fix it. That's when you start getting pushback a lot of times, because people want to find, and I'm not sure what people are thinking, to be honest with you, but I tell them all the time, you change the dynamic of the situation, a lot of times that will reverse. You see that with hypertension, you see it with diabetes. A lot of it can be controlled with no medicine, but they have to follow the lifestyle advice and changes necessary to do that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I find it's a lot to do with responsibility and discipline. And people these days, they don't want to be responsible, and they don't have discipline. They just want everybody to do everything for them.
And so the idea of take the magic pill
Yes.
and it'll all be okay,
Exactly.
as opposed to doing the hard work
Exactly.
of exercising and eating right and dieting and so forth and so on. Well, we're going to talk about summertime stuff because we're getting into that season. And one of the first things that I did when I was doing the research for this show was to look at the different types of herbs and oils and so forth that you could use to take care of some of these summertime issues. And I said, I don't have a single one of those in my medicine cabinet. So Gigi, give us a sense, first of all, what are the basics? What should people have with them at home that they can automatically turn to for most general things?
Absolutely. Well, let's talk about what a plant is first. Let's define that.
Okay.
A plant is, it has savory, medicinal, aromatic therapy. That's what an herb is. It's a plant that has those three properties to them.
So say them one more time. Savory.
An herb is a plant with savory, like when we're cooking and we're adding all these seasonings. And we have a son who loves to add a lot more seasonings than, he should. He's a practicing chef. And he doesn't have to pay for them, of course, so it doesn't matter. Let's just pour the more the better. But we live in a society where we think more is better, but more is not always better. So savory is one aspect of it. And then we have the medicinal one that we're probably talking about today, which is another aspect of it too. But then there's also that aromatherapy part.
And what does aromatherapy do for you?
It pretty much kind of invigorates the senses. I guess it's looking at your on a psychological and emotional well-being.
Okay.
So it can actually change that. I love lavender. Lavender's very calming and very good for burns and different things too. So they have multiple uses. I guess that's one thing about herbs.
Okay.
But one thing that I do want to make sure that we understand is we call it CAM, complementary alternative medicine, because there's so many times, unfortunately, we're the last people that they come to when they do get that poison ivy, which I do have a wonderful herbal first aid kit here. Actually, my niece and her fiance, they're getting married Sunday. So this is for them. They're going to be hiking the mountains of Peru, is it, Jim?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, in a couple of weeks they'll be hiking there. So brought along quite a few things in here too as well.
Okay.
But the beauty of alternative medicines, most of us have a lot of these already in our cabinet. Tea tree oil, for example, is one thing that's very good. They call it the wonder from down under. It's from Australia, and it's probably the most fungal, you would say, antifungal.
Oh, yeah. Antifungal, most prevalent. In fact, my wife loves it so much. When the kids were little, if they got their arm chopped off, she said, "Put tea tree oil on." Tea tree oil on everything. But it does have some amazing effects, surprisingly, for mosquito bites. See, when a mosquito bites you, he really doesn't bite you. He actually throws up an enzyme that softens your skin so he can stick his straw in there and drink your blood.
Okay.
So this tea tree oil actually neutralizes that enzyme, so it doesn't sting anymore.
So it doesn't sting.
And it also helps, it's like an analgesic, and it also helps disinfect it. So you got three functions from just tea tree oil.
This one. All right, let me throw the phone numbers out so that our audience can call in and ask you all about different summertime ailments, if you will, and how you can use a natural way to take care of those. 440-2665 or 1-800-940-2240 are the numbers to call to join our conversation. What questions do you have about about healing a natural way? 440-2665 or 1-800-940-2240. Okay, so you talked about lavender and tea tree oil. Are there certain other things that are kind of like the basics that everybody should have in their medicine cabinet? Because I got to go get it.
Well, we're talking about the sun.
Okay.
As you know, the sun is powerful. He's worked at NASA, and he's always telling us about how powerful the sun is and everything too. So there's some things in our little kit that we have, like lip balm. Everybody knows lip balm. And the sun protection factor, the SPF, has certain numbers attached to it. And I would always suggest maybe if you're going to purchase a lip balm, make sure it has an SPF factor of 30 nowadays, usually.
Okay.
So let's talk about sunscreen.
Sure.
I didn't bring any sunscreen. That's something that you want to also have on hand. Besides, this does not also take place of your regular first aid kit. We definitely want to have that on hand as well. So no scissors, no gauzes are in here, just a few Band-Aids. But the sun is so powerful, and we want to make sure that we are protecting ourselves from that. So what sunscreens that we do need, they need to have zinc oxide in them or titanium dioxide in them. If they do not contain those two ingredients, one or the other or both, then that is not going to protect your skin. And that's what it does. It helps to form a barrier on your skin to protect it from the UVA and UVB rays.
And
all
so
that.
is that in your common sunscreens, or is it different?
not at all.
Okay.
Not at all. Not at all. Especially the mass market won't contain those ingredients.
Okay.
So,
So where do you find it? Obviously from your store, but just in general,
And
where do people go?
They can go to any health food store. You can get it online, but they need to do their research to make sure it contains those ingredients.
Okay.
But online is the thing now. Everybody's doing it. But Health Trail carries them, and I believe, does Vitamin Shop carry them?
The
Vitamin Shop does carry
say
them.
the names. Say those names one more time.
Health Trail Natural Food.
No, not that.
Oh, sorry.
The
ingredients.
Yes. I'm sorry.
Zinc oxide
Zinc oxide.
and
Okay.
the titanium dioxide.
And that's for sunburn, in order to protect your skin.
That should be in your sunscreen.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. Suppose you get sunburn. First of all, destroy the myth that black people don't burn.
Oh, we know that's the case. It's just I tell you what the pigment in the skin will protect you a little bit more than it was somebody who has markedly less, but sunburn is just as prevalent. You know, in any population, if you're exposed long enough.
Absolutely.
Some may burn quicker than others, but you still, that rumor gets dispelled quick. So,
Okay. So hear it out there. That is a rumor, people. 440-2665 or 1-800-940-2240. Call us and ask us about your summer issues and what would you like to use as opposed to traditional medicine. 440-2665 or 1-800-940-2240.
I tell you what my question would be is when you talk about things like the EpiPen. So this is I get on my high horse about this kind of stuff. We were talking actually the other day. I had a couple of docs and myself and a pharmacist yesterday at a heart hospital, and we brought this issue of the EpiPen. Now, I saw an article written recently saying that there's a shortage of this, so people can't get this material. Well, they can get it, but it's at a shortage, and I always feel like it's just games people playing to run up the cost personally, because I'm like, if you can't manufacture it, then you need to get out of business and get somebody here that can manufacture it, because you talk about messing with people's lives.
Absolutely.
With that. And that's really extremely frustrating. I like to just shut the whole thing down, say let's go homeopathic way, all this stuff, and just get people start realizing maybe if you can bypass some of those companies and let them play their own games and go out of business, then we'll get people in that want to help. Are there alternatives to the EpiPen that you guys would have that could deal with those types of acute allergic reactions?
Well, if someone's got an EpiPen, that means they're usually anaphylactic,
Right.
which is life-threatening.
Yeah.
So we have to look at what they're allergic to, and then look at the antidote for that allergic reaction. Sometimes it's nuts. Sometimes it's
Bee stings.
whatever it might be. A lot of times it's either enzyme related or something like that. But when we can address what the allergy is, then we can look at what homeopathic or antidote might be able to help with that. But because it's so toxic, their body's at a level where they can't handle any of it. So we need to address it probably medically first.
Well, let me ask you this.
And then
Yes.
maybe put them on some sort of regimen or something to ease
change
it.
that environment.
So is that possible? It's like you get them used to. It was like a. I know sometimes when you're trying to get people out of allergic reactions, they get low dose stimulus that kind of let the body start
Like an adaptogen?
Yeah. I don't know if that's possible in this situation for like somebody say bee stings. What would you? How would that be handled? For
Homeopathy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then what do you do for bee stings? That's a good question.
Well, I did have one in one in my first aid kit. It's called Bug Itch, and basically that's something that also helps to work with it. And actually, the ingredients in here are homeopathic remedies as well. But you can spray them right on that. But again, if they do have a severe allergic reaction, we definitely, sometimes it can be, like he said, life-threatening.
Well, but if somebody didn't doesn't have your kit specifically, what are the herbs or what are the plants that they can use or utilize to deal with the bee sting, to put something on it so that it doesn't hurt anymore? Is there any?
Honey? Sometimes people use honey for bee stings. That's one.
Propolis, And the bees are amazing. And that's, again, a homeopathic remedy. Because
Right. That's what I'm talking. Yeah. Okay.
royal jelly, that's the milky white substance of the queen bee. They choose a bee to be the queen, and she doubles in size and lives forever. She has this wonderful milky white substance that she gives off. And then there's this also substance called propolis that protects bees from bacteria. And that's very, very healing for that as well.
Yes, the sticky stuff that covers the hive.
Okay.
That's propolis. And it won't decay or anything with that propolis around it. It is very, very highly nutritional, and you can buy it in the health food stores.
So you can
take
buy
it,
and you can take it, and it will protect you from it internally.
Bee stings. Another thing would be colloidal silver.
Okay.
Very, very good.
But I think everyone has honey in their cabinet, one way or the other. But actually, prevention is the best cure. Yeah. I really do think that if they actually start taking that in consideration, applying that to their lifestyle, a healthy lifestyle, then we can prevent a lot of the things that are going to come.
Well, but I mean, when you say prevention, a bee sting, I mean,
what she's saying is you're going to build your immune system to be able to handle it over time.
Oh, okay.
That's what this whole homeopathy thing is, the naturopathy, is to create an environment in your body that can coexist with everything we deal with. That's the key.
Gotcha. So what would you take to prevent? So in other words, to start to build your body and build that immunity for a bee sting?
Well, not even just for a bee sting, but astragalus is a wonderful herb.
Okay.
And it's a deep, deep immune builder, even for people who have been debilitated and had some really, really deep issues. Got to keep in mind, a lot of people don't realize the skin being the largest external organ, it has its own immune system. So that's another thing, too. So we do want to protect it. Anytime there's a poison inside of us, it's going to show up on the skin. Poison ivy, for example. People think that it's poisonous to everyone, but only 85% of Americans are allergic to, well, not only 85, that's quite a bit, right? But 85% of us Americans are allergic to the oil that actually
comes off the
comes
poison
out of
ivy.
that. So if
it's
you're
not poisonous.
Right. It's not poison. We're allergic to it. And that's something, too, that we want to understand, that if we're allergic to poison ivy, we're probably allergic to poison oak and poison sumac as well. They all contain the same oils.
But to make sure, because I don't want people to think, well, you can just start doing this and all of a sudden you'll be okay.
Right.
If you are allergic, Dr. Newby, to bee stings, period, and you get stung and you need that EpiPen, you should use that.
Yeah.
We are saying that,
Please
right?
do.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. All right. I wanted to make sure. I see that
what we're just
Go
trying
ahead.
to do is to say if there's a way that you may not need the EpiPen eventually over time, that we can start that process because of the shortage that's out here, and we have to be prepared and planning for that issue, because that's been ongoing now for over a year.
So mainly what we're saying is that people can do things for their lifestyles to start to prevent some of this ahead of time.
Absolutely.
Proactive.
That's the key. Be proactive
Yes.
about it. Let's talk to Ed in Virginia Beach. Hi, Ed. You're on the air.
Hey, Barbara, this is Ed Fykes. How are you?
Hi, I'm good, Ed. How are you?
Very good.
Good. Thanks for calling.
Well, thank you for having the show. It's terrific. Just wanted to share a couple of, alternative things. And I was out gardening a couple of months ago, and I guess I got some poison ivy on me, and I didn't want to run upstairs to put some apple cider vinegar on it. So there was a can of Coca-Cola in the garage. I said, geez, if it could take off rust, maybe it could take off some of this poison ivy. And sure enough, I poured it on my lawn, and it stopped. So I just wanted to see what the doctors thought about that.
Well,
everything.
What did you pour?
Coca-Cola.
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 Highly
He
acidic.
poured on his
Highly acidic.
Yeah.
and that's the key.
Possibly. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good question on that one. I'm not sure.
And
I'm
thanks
not sure
so
on
much
that
for the
one.
call.
That's the
We
one I can think
appreciate
of.
that.
And
But you're
that's
saying it's highly acidic,
Yeah,
so that
well, yeah.
probably had a reaction to it.
A reaction to it. And actually, the funny thing is, the best antidote for poison ivy is poison ivy. You take it internally. That's an antidote.
very
It's
much
a liquid that you take internally. People say, I'm not drinking that, but what it does is it's kind of like,
Wow.
homeopathic.
Oh, my. I tell you. Okay, Margaret Ann joins us from Williamsburg. Hi, Margaret Ann. You're on the air.
Hi.
Hi.
I heard you talking about using essential oils and having used them in a hospital setting for the last 8 years. I was quite excited to hear you endorsing them. But I do have a concern that people need to know that aside from lavender, you can't really put the oils directly on your skin because it might cause more skin irritation than it helps.
Absolutely.
So-
We do need a carrier oil. I'm sure you're aware of that. There are companies out there, like Young Living, for example, that, they always think that that's something that they can do. I think Young Living has told their distributors that they can actually apply them directly, but that's something that they should never do.
Okay,
they
what
should
happens
always use
when
a carrier oil.
Okay, and why is that? What
Too
does
potent.
it do? It's too potent.
Well, yeah, it can create more irritation. So you need a carrier oil to carry with it, like a
Sweet almond oil,
almond oil.
grapeseed oil,
Yeah.
all of those.
So it's like a certain
Exactly.
mixture between the two.
It's a
I'm
combination
sure.
of both those
Okay.
oils.
Okay.
Yes.
Thanks, Margaret Ann, for the call. We appreciate that. So suppose you have athlete's foot. Is there something that you can take naturally?
Yeah, what's that?
To
What's that
fix
stuff
that?
you said
There's
earlier?
a fungus among us.
Fungus among us.
Now, this is interesting. Have you ever smelled tea tree oil before? Whoopsie. There you go. It
Okay.
reminds me of
She brought tea tree oil, and so Dr.
I'm
Newby
the first experiment,
is smelling the tea tree oil as
smell
we
it.
go.
turpentine a little
Yeah.
bit, doesn't it?
Yeah,
I know.
It does. Yeah.
Wow.
The tea tree.
Take a real deep sniff
Not
of
only
it.
will the tea tree oil help, but they need to increase their probiotics.
Ah,
That's another thing.
okay.
That's
so
very important.
increase probiotics, eating yogurt.
Well, no,
Yeah, I think they got some specific. I've seen some of the over the counter.
See, when you do yogurt, you're getting only about 1 billion CFUs.
Okay.
So that's the living organisms in there. You want to do 30 to 50, sometimes 90 billion living organisms.
How do you learn all of this?
You've been in the business for 20 years.
And you
but
listen to your wife.
but
And you have a naturopathic doctor as a wife.
but from a consumer's perspective, I mean, because you can watch the commercials and you
Right.
can see, and so forth. But that piece of information you just gave us, that's very interesting, and that's very different than eating a certain brand of yogurt in order to get that point.
But-
So, what does the everyday person need to do so that they can become more educated about this?
Actually, there's like 5 key things you want to look at, and 3 major ones. You want to look at your immunity, your microbiome, which is your digestive tract, and your pH level. If you can get those 3 things right there, you're going to be doing yourself a lot of service, and you're going to be beyond the power curve, okay? You're going to be really ahead of the game because you're going to be in balance, and that's the key, balance and synergy. Once you get those things taken care of, now you can start living a holistic wellness lifestyle.
Okay, now if I were to go to Dr. Newby because my chest hurts and he's going to run a bunch of tests and he's going to tell me that that these things are back in balance. How do I know when those 3 things are in balance?
Well,
In other words, how do I know they're out of balance to begin with? And then how do I know that they're back in balance?
good question. We actually use a system that does a biological coherence survey that looks at the whole body. I mean, it looks at your organs, it looks at your eyes, it looks at your teeth, your vertebrae, your emotions. It looks at everything. It gives you a diagram. It shows you what's in range and what's out of range. This is an amazing assessment, and people always tell us, I wasn't ready for that. There was so much information in this. I was not ready for it. And they tell us, no one knew this but me. How did this machine know that? Well, it's software that's based on quantum mechanics. It's an awesome piece of software that we use that shows where the body is, where it's been, and where it's going if you don't change it. And as people say, how did it know that? My doctor told me I had that. So it's amazing software.
So you get tested first, then in other words, or diagnosed.
No diagnosis, no testing. It's an assessment.
Assessed. Okay.
Right. It's a big difference. If I diagnose, I have a legal right to prescribe you medication. We don't prescribe or diagnose anything. We give you an assessment.
Okay.
That way we stay legal.
We find out what the body prefers.
Right.
It works on galvanic skin.
Skin response. It's the same technology they use for a lie detector test. It's identical, and that's permissible in court. And it's very accurate, and they're getting more and more accurate, and the responses are mind-blowing. Our clients are just like, oh my gosh. And a week or two after, they're like, I'm feeling so much better, because it recommends what they should be looking at.
But we also see their threshold of health. We see where their baseline is, and anything outside of that threshold is usually out of range. But we take in consideration 4 core systems: the gastrointestinal system, detoxification, the immune system, and the old hormonal endocrine system as well.
I call it the hormonal.
But if any one or more of those systems becomes compromised, then your overall health is pretty much compromised.
If you're just joining us, we're talking about natural ways to heal yourself from summertime ailments and other things with Dr. GiGi Fykes, the naturopathic doctor, Jeff Fykes, the owner of Health Trail Natural Foods, and my co-host for Another View on Health, Dr. Keith Newby.
One thing I will caution the audience listening is to make sure that you get proper guidance. What I'm finding is you mentioned earlier about learning some of this stuff, and you mentioned we've been in the business for 20 years. One of the things that can sometimes be frustrating as a physician is the internet can be our friend and it could be our enemy. People
Exactly.
and people don't really understand the internet is not a well regulated information center. So I can put anything up there, say almost anything I want to say. Don't make it accurate. It means it's there for people to view. So sometimes people will go up there and I've heard some of the most ridiculous things. They come into the office and tell me they've read about some issue with some medication that's just absolutely ridiculous. And and I have to try to undo all that. So I would just caution people to say, I want people to read, I want people to learn, but don't just assume because you read it there that it's accurate.
Absolutely.
You have people like the Fykes who have an ability to make this assessment. Don't think you could do it on your own. Part of our job is to help guide people down the path.
People. Yes.
And I think that's where we fall short. What patients can fall short because they'll think they read it, I already know this, I don't need to get any help from anybody else. And yes, you do, because you don't know, you don't have that experience level that really kind of helps guide you down the path. I had the thing I always get these debates about, people will say these following comments: I know my body better than anybody else. I hear that all the time. I said, you may know aspects of how you feel, but you don't know what's going on always in your body, and what things that you go down this path, and you keep going on this path, you're going down a path of destruction.
Absolutely.
I said, and so you want to make sure you get all your information, and then you can make a true assessment about, I've got the tools I need to move forward, and so now I can actually, with guidance, move forward and
do the right thing.
Absolutely.
So I want to get a little bit more specific for people. So you talked about tea tree oil, for example, for athlete's foot, but what do you do? In other words, like I was reading something, I thought I read that you could also soak your feet in apple cider vinegar, and that balances. I don't know.
It's
if
used
it
for
does or
so
not.
many. There's a book, The Apple Cider Vinegar by Braggs, and it's from A to Z. Good for so many things.
But if somebody has it, what do? They just pour it in the bucket?
No.
That's my point. Tell me specifically,
if you
what
had
do they do?
athlete's foot, I would suggest a regimen for destroying the fungus outside and inside.
Okay.
See, I don't get athlete's foot. Even if I step in something nasty, I won't get it.
Okay.
My immune system is good enough not to get it. My skin is good enough not to get it. It has the one of the things about the apple cider vinegar is the pH level. Okay. So things can't grow if the pH is not right. If you go to your garden and you're trying to grow azaleas, if the pH is not right, it won't grow.
Okay.
It's the same thing with funguses. If
somebody has it, tell me what do they do so that they can get their skin right?
what they want to do is follow and we would have to look at what that fungus is.
Sure.
Because there are different ones.
Okay.
So they would go on a regimen for the tea tree oil and possibly some probiotics and maybe another alternative that we would come up with. We would have to look at the whole thing. We just can't pop in. It's not it's not that quick.
So are there things that people can do as opposed to going to the doctor, or as opposed to using the traditional medication
Absolutely.
in order to use herbs? That's what I'm trying to get to.
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Yes, and they're for just about everything, because truth be told, most medications are derived from 10 plants. That's about it.
Okay, what about, say, for instance, I read one today on splinters that they were saying that you could take a banana peel to and wrap it around the area where splinter is, and where it will pull the
I've
the
heard
splinter up.
I've heard
Do you know about that?
This is that danger of the internet we talked
Exactly.
about earlier.
Well, it depends. It might work, but I know I've had some splinters. I almost had to get a jackhammer to get it out. So banana ain't gonna help.
They were saying that. Let me see. I'm going to find the exact thing, because I just found that really, really interesting.
Yeah,
I told you get some of the most interesting stories from the internet.
I would have to know the active ingredient or what's causing that splinter to. Or it could be opening the pores, which makes the splinter, dilate it.
Okay, here we go. All right, it says that using a banana peel as first aid, bananas are more than a delicious source of potassium. If you have you're supposed to place the fleshy side against your skin. It contains an enzyme that helps lessen the inflamed tissue and draws out the splinter.
Okay, so it sounds like it's a anti-inflammatory. All right, and how it draws it out.
Let's see. I tell you, the other thing that you'll find is the one thing in medicine is we are inherently scientists. We're taught to look at things analytically. So, when you ask yourself, like when I look at something like that, the first thing that goes through my mind is where they get this data from. How did they come to this determination that it in fact does that? So, and in order to do that, I mean, when you really think about it in this terms, you got to take, whatever number of people, half of them traditional, half of them get the banana peel, and can you prove that actually happens? Because otherwise, it's just theoretical stuff. It's like me. It's almost anecdotal.
Exactly.
So I can say, "Oh yeah, I've seen this happen before," but that don't make it so. It just means you see it may have been that splinter would have come out anyway.
But there are a lot of these types of things where people have been doing them for years. That they call them either old wives' tales, or they call them, home remedies, or whatever you want to call them, that people swear by.
Absolutely.
Because they say that it works. Go ahead. So what's the difference?
Here's the difference. I work with metal a lot, okay?
Okay.
If I get a metal splinter, is it going to take that out too?
Well,
does it have to do something with the wood being porous? It just all depends.
And the other thing you talk about when people say, okay, I've done this all my life. Well, the question is, when have you not done it and saw what happened? Because if you say, okay, I've done this like for 30 years, but you never did anything else, how do you know that it actually was doing what you think it's doing? I mean, it may have been if you didn't do anything, it would have done the same thing. But because you never try to figure that out, you've been taught to do it this way, so you inherently do it that way. You never do it a different way.
So when your grandmother tells you to drink apple cider vinegar and hot water every day to clean out this system, that's not a good thing.
Well, it's not to say it's not a good thing. It's just you don't have any data that says it is a bad thing or a good thing.
Absolutely.
It's indifferent. You don't know.
Okay.
See, again, we as scientists, we look at things analytically, and that's the first thing that goes through my mind when somebody tells me one of those. My wife, she's a firm believer in the apple cider vinegar. I have no comment. I tell her when she, Epsom salts, apple cider. I mean, I hear she gets me to do this kind of stuff, and because I'm gonna try to be a good husband, I follow, I follow the lead. But when you really think about it,
But Keith, I want to push back just a little bit on that though, because for a long time, particularly back from slavery days and segregation and so forth, we didn't necessarily have access to doctors who were able to analytically look at this stuff. And so people used herbs and they used plants and they used the natural things in order to make a difference, right?
Yeah. But see, you're missing my point, though. The point is not. I'm not saying that
You're not saying it doesn't work.
I'm just saying we don't know what it does, really. I mean, unless you have hardcore data that says, yes, we've tested this against some control group, and we can show it works. That's all I'm saying is I tell people all the time, when they bring something to me and they say, can I do this? Would you support it? I say, well, listen, I don't have data that says one way or the other. I said, feel free. I said, I don't think it's going to do you any harm based on the information I have. I just can't tell you that it's going to do what you think it's going to do. It could, but it may not. I don't know. Okay. So I just caution people to just look at it from that perspective, not to dissuade anybody, but just say, without that data, I don't know the answer.
Okay. One thing that I learned after working at NASA for almost 10 years is we get data, but the way we get it, we find out why it does what it does, and that's the key. When you know why and how it does it, then you can derive from some data and say, yes, this meets this criteria. So that's what I do all the time when I do my research. I don't just look at it and say, oh, it works. I'm like, wait, why does it work? That's why when you brought that up, I said, I start thinking about the dilation of the pores and how it's doing it. Once I understand how it does it, I know if it's really working or not from a technical aspect. Then you can determine whether it's effective or not.
I believe that we're all different. What might work for you might not work for me or for Jeff or for Keith either. We're all individuals. Let's take chemotherapy, for example. There's only a certain amount of chemotherapy drugs, but there's hundreds of different types of cancers as well. And the chemotherapy drugs, there's different types of cancer cells. So there might be killing those cancer cells, but then how about the cancer stem cells? And that's what you try to tell people, that we also have other things. We're all unique. We're not the same Dr. Oz. He thinks we're, so one shoe fits all, but no, we have different shoe sizes. And we need to handle that. But I love hearing the stories about people going in their yard and picking out the dandelion roots and using dandelion is a wonderful universal herb. Used for so many things. Good blood purifier, good for the urinary tract. I mean, wonderful herb. Burdock root is another one as well.
So what do they do with dandelion roots? I mean, what you do, cook it or something, or you just
boil it, make more of a tea.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, my the lady that used to keep us when we were young, she used to make dandelion wine.
It is excellent for the liver.
I've never recommended dandelion wine, but a few of my clients probably could use it a little bit.
So we only have about 10 minutes left. I want to shift the conversation just a little bit, and that is summertime is a big time for family gatherings and for people, particularly family reunions and so forth, to come together. So what should we look for? It's a good time, Keith, for families to have conversations about family health and their lines and so forth. So as you start to see your older relatives and so forth, are there some things that you need to pay attention to that maybe you didn't notice the last family reunion, or how do you bring up that conversation?
I'm always just point blank. I just bring it up and just ask the questions. But the thing is that as a physician, the advantage I have is I can look in a room and know what's going on without even asking them. I mean, you look at people's their body habitus, their skin condition. I mean, I have the advantage of being able to look, and I can usually tell. I say, they diabetic. I mean, I hate to, I mean, there's certain things I can easily tell that they have an inherent problem going on. But I think for the novice, the novices doing it, I think it's always important to understand that family history, because you'll then be able to look at whether or not you're at risk. And, unfortunately, so we've gotten as a people, back 20 years ago, everybody knew everybody in the family. Nowadays everybody's got so disjointed because we've focused now on our work and our other schedules, and you don't find that family togetherness, unfortunately. So in a lot of families that we once did 20 years ago, that's the only downside about technology. There's brought some advantages, some disadvantages as well. But I really do believe that is a time to be able to find out that. But equally, if not more importantly, I tell people all the time, the same thing like in my church. We have, I go to church session, and it's kind of, I have these running jokes. When I go to church, I'm typically working. And when I say that, it's going to be, and if it's hot in the church, somebody's going to black out. And no matter where I am, they're going to find me, and I don't care if I'm in the parking lot. I don't care if I'm in the restroom. I don't care if I'm in the deacon room. They're going to find me because of, what I do. But I think preparation, if you're going to be at a family reunion, you're going to be outside, then you got to understand what the weather's going to be like that day, what the temperature's going to be like. People need to understand their health issues, because if they understand that, they can prepare for that. Because what's going to be worse is going to a family reunion, somebody has a cardiac arrest, because or they black out from dehydration because they already had kidney problems or some other issues, and they're diabetic and they didn't take their insulin because they wanted to eat what they wanted to eat, or they take too much insulin because they know they're going to eat the world, and then the barbecue gets delayed. Next thing you know, they black out because the blood sugar's 10. That you'd be surprised what people do. So I would always tell people, caution folks to understand when they're making plans, to understand their own health and the challenges they may undergo while they're there, and the people. And they need to identify and tell those around them, the other family members, listen, I'm diabetic, and I just want to make sure everybody knows, so just in case something happens. And not to say that you want things to happen, but you want to be prepared.
So the person who is sick or has a chronic ailment really should come forward and tell the rest of the family
I think it's ahead of time. And I'm not saying tell all your business off, but but just if there's potential, because you don't know how many people I get that are, especially elderly, who have like 800 medical issues, and they're already kind of on the fence anyway. And then they ask me a question, can I go to California? And I'm like, do you really have to go? I said, because and I try to give people, and I understand that they want to go, and I understand they want to do those things, but I say, remember now, you may affect those around you by taking this trip. I understand you want to go, but you're already a little on the fence on your health, and that you talk about a long flight, a long bus ride, car ride, whatever, and you have to be prepared for what may happen as a result of that. So everything in life is preparation and planning. So that's what that would be my biggest.
You want to add to that, Gigi?
Well, I'm thinking about family. And one thing I'm trying to get my family to do is to get together and take a CPR class together, so that if we are in a room where there's not a Dr. Newby there, that we can actually help save a life. And one thing about relatives, they'll say, oh, I'm fine, there's nothing wrong with me, and you look at them, you're like, that their blood pressure is through the roof. And of course, you try to tell them that you don't have to have the symptoms right now. People are so used to waiting until they feel the pain. Sometimes they feel the pain, but they ignore the pain. Oh, that's not my pain. That's somebody else's pain, and it'll go away in a few minutes. But
heartburn.
That's hot. And I'm sure you've seen a lot of heartburn coming through, but then some of those heartburns actually
are heart attacks.
Yeah. So prevention is the key. I believe that's so very, very important.
Well, Jeff, how would you suggest people start that conversation? Bring people, bring the whole idea of family history, because sometimes people like to bury the family history. They don't want, they don't want to talk about what happened in the past. But in terms of your health, if you don't know that there's a history of diabetes in the family, or there's a history of heart disease, or there's a history of cancer, there may be some things that you're doing simply because you're unaware.
He's number 10 of 11 kids, and they are very close.
We're very
family.
Close. I learned over these years that the word wholeness is the key for a healthy life. And what I do is I created an acronym. Whole is well, healthy, optimistic, lively, and energetic. If one of those is missing, okay, you need to be looking at what's going on. So what people should really do is tell the truth about themselves, because people don't listen to their bodies. And Dr. Newby hit it on the head. When we had our store, we were clocking them coming in the door. We could tell what was going on. Wow. You can see their skin. You can see their eyes. You can see their face, their hair. You can see the way they walk. You can see, a lot of things are on the outside that you see. So if people just take the time to take control of their health naturally and realize they're not Superman, they're not. And,
a lot of people will say, too, well, I'm getting older. That's why I'm shuffling more, or I'm getting older. Because,
you know what? Lively and energetic. No. I mean, people don't realize how old I am, but I'll be 61 next year.
Wow.
So it's just a matter of what you're putting in your body. It makes a huge difference. And I know this time and day that we're in, everything is indulgence. Everything is indulgence. Walk through Walmart and you'll see everything is indulgence. I mean, the way they dress, what they do. So if people just take the time to really be disciplined about their lifestyle, they're going to have a healthy lifestyle and one that they can live with and, be glad that they're alive.
Okay, I need you two to tell me how people can reach you, because apparently we had tons of Facebook questions that we didn't have time to get to on this time. So how do people reach you?
You can reach Dr. GiGi at the website is DRGIS holisticwellness.com. That's her website.
Say it one more time.
DRGIS stands for Dr. G's holisticwellness.com. Her phone number is 757 276 8020. Just remember, it's the 80-20 rule.
80-20 rule.
So 757-276-8020. And she has her office in Newport News. It's at 558 Denby Boulevard, Suite B.
Okay.
And they can contact us anytime. There's a form on the website that says, I'm interested in talking with you. If they just click on that, they'll see that there's a lot of information on the website.
Okay, and we're going to have Lisa Godley, our producer, post that on our website also, so that people will be able to reach out to you. A lot of information. If you're curious about it, go to the website, learn some more. Dr. Newby, as always, it's a pleasure to have you here. I really appreciate that, and I hope that you guys have a wonderful holiday weekend, and also during the summer that you spend some time. And also, tell me about Health Trail real quick.
Okay, well, we own the Healthy Connection at one time, and now GiGi works at Health Trail. I don't own it, but GiGi works at Health Trail as a vitamin buyer, but that's okay. That's good. We're still great friends.
Okay, all right, then that works out perfectly. Thank you guys so much, and we will be right back.
Hello, this is Spike Lee. What's happening? And you listen to Another View.
And welcome back. Education and free speech are two basic human rights, but not all people have an equal opportunity to make themselves heard. Some voices are more caged than others. Our very own Lisa Godley spoke with Bathsheba Smithen, a woman determined to unlock the voices of young artists through her program appropriately titled Cage-Free Voices.
And the conflict inside you commences. But you fight a war outside against those who come within inches of understanding the truth about your facade. Instead of facing the mirror, you blame God.
Bathsheba Smithen learned the true value of an education from her humble beginnings in the Achievable Dream program.
Good morning, dreamers!
Being a part of an Achievable Dream and connecting with the teachers there, it definitely charted my course to focusing more on education and instilling the same values into people who look like me and who have gone through similar experiences.
Bathsheba believes by educating others, we can empower those who may be at a disadvantage due to their race, gender, or class. Bathsheba educates young people and encourages those who feel unable to express themselves to speak up.
There are so many people who are screaming to be heard in the society that we live in right now, but their voices are caged and suppressed or oppressed by the expectations and opinions of others. So what we do is Cage Free Voices Radio. We promote young people who have artistic abilities, whether they play the violin or some instrument, or they sing, they rap, whatever it is that they do. They add that as an element to the interview that they have, and whatever it is that they do, it has to be positive, and it has to promote social, economic, political change.
Welcome to Cage Free Voices Radio, an innovative educational entertainment radio show where youth and young adults have the opportunity to see themselves even if the world is blind.
And so Cage Free Voices provides that platform through Cage Free Voices Radio. Now we have Cage Free Voices Theater, as well as the other division of Cage Free Voices, which is education. We have curriculum development going into the schools and training teachers, providing curriculum development to educational publishing companies so that young people can see themselves in the materials that they are learning.
Just like autumn time, things are changing for the better through whatever.
Yeah, close your eyes and imagine. Just for once, you made it all the way to the edge.
When young people have a voice and they have that platform, then more people are hearing what it is that's going on with them, especially the population that is not of the millennial generation, who may feel somewhat distant from some of the issues that are plaguing young people today.
Insanity got me wondering if my reasons are all vanity. I don't even care, most people not understanding me. Saw myself in the mirror.
Young people, they are the future. If we can't open up our hearts and our minds to what they have to say, or even sit down to create policies and procedures that will keep them safe, then where will we be? Even if we want to think about it selfishly, where will we be in the long term? Because who's going to be taking care of us if the young people have not gotten what they need to be able to do those things?
Said we got lost in love.
Whoa, I know who you are. I know what you need. I can see that look in your eyes. I know what that means. Though it seems you so down to earth. You from outer space, queen. Gonna take your place amongst the goddess.
You can find Bathsheba Smithen and Cage Free Voices on Facebook and YouTube. For Another View, I'm Lisa Godley.
Very, very talented young folks. And this story was produced by Another View intern Kaya Kraft, a junior at Christopher Newport University. And we hope you enjoyed today's edition of Another View on Health. If you'd like to hear it again or share it with a friend, please visit our website, anotherviewradio.org, and download the podcast. And while you're there, please sign up for our eView newsletter. It's a once-a-week reminder of upcoming shows. And we're on Facebook, so like us, and we'll also post Dr. Gigi's information on our Facebook page. And I'm on Twitter at Barbara Ham Lee. Next time on Another View, we take a walk through history and explore the arrival of the first Africans to English North America in 1619, as Virginia prepares for the 400th year commemoration of the beginning of our nation. Our theme music was composed and performed by Jay Sinnott. Lisa Godley is our show producer. Victor Bowen is our audio engineer. And Lisa, who answered our phones today? And Kamaria Mason answered our phones. I'm Barbara Ham Lee. Have a wonderful holiday weekend, everyone. And thank you so much for listening to Another View.